And that I think that right there is the most important question. How are you going to manage so that you know that things aren't, just hurting yourself, or you're actually helping yourself in the end. Because we all have goals, aspirations. I mean, personal, business, relationship. I mean, you name it. I shouldn't say we all, but most people, what they want to do is have at least a retirement plan in place, or start a business, get a house, be able to invest for the future, or be able to invest in their kids. So these are all little things that it should be, if that's what is part of your plan, should be part of your financial plan in terms of what it is that you need to do in order to achieve those goals.
Look, hell of an intro. I tell you what you info, but I never really been the type of dude to give no info. But if you see your ends low and you trying to get a benzo, I'll give your ass some game that'll change the way that you think, bro. Super skilled with the pencil, super ill in my mental. I reminisce on life, I'm nice, here's my memento. Get it through your tempo, I get on any tempo and give it all I got. I'm hot, I got like 10 flows, trying to live on the 10th floor, across from residentials that I own. My mind stayed grown, I used to think clothes, I really used to think hoes and what I do to get those, and then I switched it up, I'm only thinking potential.
What's up, everyone? It's Ronnie Polonius and Francis Fan, and welcome to the realest show on the planet of Earth, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. You're going to essentially hear it all. So if you're ever looking for some sort of motivation, inspiration, or guidance, you're in the right place. We make it our mission to make sure we can give you a place where you can consistently walk and grow. Let's get it. 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 It's been a while since I did that, man. Feels good to be back, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a while. I'm curious to know why.
I think it's just rolling right into the things. We got that intro in place, so didn't really find a need to, change things up a bit and see what really flows. And that's really it.
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you for asking. Let's just get right into it, though. This episode here is really inspired by a conversation I had this week, and it allowed me to realize, like, wow, there's so many facets, there's so many different things that you got to focus in on when trying to develop yourself, trying to figure things out, trying to navigate life, trying to do whatever it is that you're looking forward in doing. And one of those things was, just your finance. Obviously, we all are in different places. But one thing I feel as if it's important, it's the money, the finances that's going on in your life. Because worst case scenario, I mean, not even worst case scenario, we all need it, one way or another. I mean, it may not be as important, but along this journey, that's obviously one of those things that I think a lot of people are, working to kind of fill that, not even fill that void, but to have that not be a burden in their life anymore. So I was like, you know what? That conversation I had allowed me to have a couple ideas, or at least bring some more light in terms of, hey, what's going on and how I navigated it, and how exactly I plan on continuing to navigate this world that we're all in. But of course, towards that financial independence, self-improvement, self-development, all that in that space. But I'm curious to know, for yourself, Francis, did you ever think, like, just on your journey in itself? Because it took me a conversation I had this past week for me to realize, wow, this is actually part of the journey as well. Because it was just always something that went through my mind. But did you at any point in time realize, oh man, I gotta consider my finances, or at least just how do I get that in order?
No, just because there was a lot of there's always been a lot of other things that came first in terms of what I want to do or the way I want to approach things. So it's never been like a priority to kind of focus on how it's gonna go. Because at the end of the day, you need to spend it for it to come to you, right?
Sure.
It's not like you're just gonna harvest it and put in the backyard and have it grow trees for you.
I mean, you could plant a tree.
Good luck. You can, but not the way. I think worrying about money, just it's not. I think I'm getting ahead of the topic here, but what I'm trying to say is I just let things comes with the flow. I've never had to kind of worry about it in a way.
Did you like along your journey, not to say like what you're saying is discrediting anything that you just said, but more or less, did you along your journey find yourself, hey, focusing a little bit more on that? Like, I gotta get my finances in order.
Yes. Yes.
Mm,
As you get older and you have more responsibility, it becomes something that you have to um, prioritize. So yes, the more and more you get, I think the very first responsibility you get is figuring out the finance about going to college, right?
mm,
When you're leaving the house and you got to figure out, how you're gonna put yourself in a good position to be successful without without having to rely on anyone else. So, and that comes with a lot of adjustment. Some of us do make it right away. Some of us take some time to adjust.
mm-hmm.
Um, but it gets better over time. It's just like you got to figure things out.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like I said, it took this conversation for me to really realize to myself, because again, this is just something that I'm working on for myself. It wasn't something that I was like, hey, I need to figure out and sit down what my finances look like. It was just, no, I'm just on this journey and I've been on it. And it didn't dawn upon me that, yo, this is part of self-development, because yes, money may not be important to some of you, maybe all of you, but it's something that we all need at some point in life, at some point in time. So it's one of those factors and one of those things that I think we all somehow, some way find ourselves not maybe putting all of our attention, but focusing in on, how do we get to that next step, or how do we accomplish and getting to that goal, or whatever that number looks like for yourself. So that's why, again, I kind of asked that question to see, because it didn't dawn upon me, like I said, but I'm curious to know from your perspective, or at least from your journey in itself, do you feel it's important to have a financial plan?
And very much so. Yes.
Mm,
Yeah. And that's in regard to what you already have going on. Um, Being able to kind of assess where you are, I think it's important, and what you want to do and where you're going. For my personal example, I I didn't have a kind of like a structured plan up
mm,
until um a few years ago when I was dating somebody that had like a pretty well Excel spreadsheet,
mhm,
defined that showed where what is going where. At the
mm.
time, I was just like, it's gonna come back to me. I'm one of those guys. I'm gonna spend it because I know, I'm not scared to go out there and spend it because I'm not gonna take it with me. So why hold it, right? But at the same time, you want to make the right decision and make sure it goes to places that matters to you.
Mm,
Um, you can't do that if you don't have a plan,
mm.
because you're just gonna be swiping left and right, if not just ordering everything on Amazon. Um, but yeah, so she really helped me kind of um have a structure, a plan of what I have, and that helped me tremendously. So
Mhm.
I do think that it's important to have one.
Yeah, I'm not. I was never. I still kind of am. I have apps and programs and stuff like that that help me keep track of things. But it's a couple of years like you. It took me a couple of years ago to actually have like structure around it. I know where I'm going. I think that's part of my big plan, is just identifying and knowing what my plan is, so I can prioritize and I know, all right, this is why I'm doing X, Y, and Z. That's kind of how I look at my financial plan. So I know I'm not doing anything excessive. But just that whole budgeting aspect, that was all brand new to me. I just managed, I think, what, every week I would say I would went about it, just like most people do, until you realize, all right, now you got to really get a hold of things and really see it. Because honestly, I think when you begin to put that list together and see what goes out and what comes in and how much goes out and how much comes in, you really start to awaken yourself and really realize, all right, something has to give up here. Because sometimes I think you can even find yourself double paying for something that you didn't necessarily have to.
Yeah, it gives you a sense of clarity, and you're also able to kind of know where you are, right? And with everything. The problem with just going with the flow without a structure is that you're not putting everything on the table per se. There are some things that you can brush under the rug and say, yeah, it's gonna handle itself, or you don't count it. But when you have a structured plan, you're basically bringing everything out to light and say, okay, how are we gonna, you know, level this or balance this to make sure that it's not overflowing in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
And that, I think that right there is the most important question. How are you going to manage so that that things aren't, just hurting yourself, or you're actually helping yourself in the end? Because we all have goals, aspirations. I mean, personal, business, relationship. I mean, you name it. We all, I shouldn't say we all, but most people, what they want to do is have at least a retirement plan in place, or start a business, get a house, be able to invest for the future, or be able to invest in their kids. So these are all little things that it should be, if that's what is part of your plan, should be part of your financial plan in terms of what it is that you need to do in order to achieve those goals. Because again, that those plans are really there to help you with your short-term and your long-term goals. And there's only really one way you're going to get it done, is just identifying, what are those goals, and start working towards it.
Yeah, that's true. It's for some people it may not be easy. And for a lot of us, it wasn't easy to begin with. Um, I'm thinking the first person that comes to mind is somebody that I know actually who is in the service industry that lives paycheck to paycheck, right? I'm thinking of like a server or bartender, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like that who every dime is going, every dime every Friday is going somewhere where it needs to go to, where the person find himself
Yeah.
with barely anything to budget for. Would you still recommend that person work on, having a structure?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a structure is not going to hurt you. It should only help you. And let's just say server, or anybody that is in the service industry, you live in paycheck to paycheck, like every dollar has been accounted for. I completely understand it. I can relate, so it's not something that it's impossible to do. It's just, you just got to really look at your situation and cut out the unnecessary first. And if you've cut out all the unnecessary, then you got to identify, all right, this is only covering this aspect. So what else can I do to cover the other aspect of it? If all your time and your attention goes into, that one specific thing, and it's not reducing the amount of income that you need, you got to find some sort of plan, or some sort of other, I don't want to say job, or maybe a hobby, or something that's going to help you bring in some more money in the end, so that you can go ahead and cover other aspects. If one thing doesn't work, that's fine. You can always add on to it, but it doesn't have to be for the longevity of it. It could probably be for a certain period of time, until you can get maybe a little handle of things.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Um, and the one challenge with that is, I'm just being realistic here. You can have someone like that start, but how do you remain consistent with that? You know, knowing that you don't have a lot coming in, and you barely have anything to, I guess, enjoy life, because everything is going to bills,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think the reason why I even bring this up is because I've had conversations like that where, the person would automatically tell you, um, all my money is tied up. I don't need a budget because, everything comes and go,
Mm.
right? Um, I'm just trying to kind of like make sure that anybody who
It's
has
feeling
been
that.
in that position listening understand that it's still important to budget.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a reason why everything that comes in immediately goes.
yeah.
It's because prior, in my opinion, this is from my experience and everything that I've done, I didn't budget beforehand. I budgeted after I realized, oh, we have a problem here. And now I'm trying to recoup, and now I'm trying to gain all those losses, or anything that kind of already has taken place. Now I'm I'm getting hurt, because again, I didn't prepare myself getting into that situation. So now that you're in the middle of it, you got to find a way out of it. Again, I think first things first is identifying what can you take out of it? What can you subtract that you really don't need? I'm going to be honest. I'm going to start here. Netflix. I mean, come on, guys. That's one of those killers, I think, in everyone's pocket. And no one really kind of understands or realizes how much goes there every single month. Better yet, look at how much goes there at the end of the year. And that's what's going to allow you to be, okay, well, if I subtract this, maybe for 6 months, maybe the entire year, I don't know, whatever your situation desires for, that's what's going to allow you to be, okay, you could pour that money over in that avenue to help with that situation. So not to say you got to have a boring life, but I think a year, 6 months, a year and a half, however long it takes, of just being disciplined, being committed to getting yourself out that situation, you will 110%. I'm a firm believer that you will get yourself out of it, but it does take a ton of work and commitment. It's not easy. I mean, anything in life is not easy. If someone tells you something is easy, run the opposite way.
One thing that I've found to be helpful, at least for me, is planning for shorter period of time.
Yeah.
Rather than shooting for like, oh, I'm gonna plan for 6 months out, I'm gonna plan for a year out. Just because there's a lot of variable in between that's gonna come and throw your plans out the window.
Mm-hmm.
But you can kind of, manage 1, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or maybe a month, and take those at that pace. Those small. I'm a big fan of small, like small pace,
Mm-hmm.
and taking those little steps to get to where you're trying to get, rather than just wanting to get a massive leap, to get
So,
there.
so
Right.
walk us through how you would handle it, because my way would be a little bit different.
Well, let's say, for example, I'm going to use something that everybody looks forward to, going on vacation, right?
Yeah.
I know my birthday is coming up. I would want to do something, right? That is far out the way, in terms of my window, right? So what I will do is look at, okay, what needs to be handled prior to that, so that when that time comes, I can then start planning for it. So now we look at everything that needs to be handled between then and now, or anything that needs to be addressed,
Mm-hmm.
and focus on that. And once those are then addressed, then we can get to planning for that birthday, rather than just say, all right, it's my special day. Let me just go out there and,
And do it anyway.
book this 3-month retreat in Phoenix, Arizona, or whatever, right? So it's like you have to plan accordingly.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would say mine is very similar. I would say that long-term plan that I have always is remembered, or is always in my mind. And of course, I think, like you said, shrinking the goal to help achieve that is ideal. So I guess very similar. I thought you were gonna say something different. But I
Gotcha.
would say, just even that commitment to it. If you know what your long-term goal is, commit to it and understand that you don't have to convince yourself that you can't do certain things. Maybe you take a break from it, right? But you go back to doing what it is that you wanted to do for that time being. It's just, I mean, not everybody can do it, where they say, you know what, I'm not gonna do X, Y, and Z for 12 years or 12 months, a year, 10 years, whatever the case may be. But if that is something that you can do, then go ahead and do it if that's what you got to do. But you don't have to. I think in this situation, you don't have to convince yourself that, all right, I'm gonna lay in the dark for an entire 5 years and no one's gonna tell me otherwise. It's no. I think it's perfectly fine to go ahead and splurge, but it's just having it all under control. I think that's the key thing right there. And I think that's step number one. Once you can have a commitment and have it under control, then you can move on to that next step, which is identifying what that number is that you need to get to free yourself from something. All right, because again, I don't know what it is, but if you're looking to be financially independent in general, or just something that you need to get off your plate for the time being, that you got to have that number in mind, so you know where you're working towards. What's that analogy you like to use with the ship, Francis?
I have a lot of them. You're gonna have to remind me.
It's the one where if you're in the middle of the sea, I forgot exactly what it is, but it's one with the ship where no ship. I don't even remember, to be honest. I'm
It'll
not gonna
come
even
back
try.
to you
Yeah.
eventually. But I'm curious to know what triggered your habit to change around finance. What was
Mm,
that, uh, I guess that X factor that made you reevaluate your relationship with money?
yeah. Not really growing up with it. That's it. I wouldn't say I went through like the worst of the worst struggle, but it was very obvious, especially the older I got, that money was an easy attainable thing for my family. So I think that's what's giving me my drive to want to figure it out. For the reasons of not growing up with it. Um, that's primarily it.
That's it's a good topic. It's a good topic to kind of um enlighten, because it sometimes it goes dormant. We just
Hmm.
go out there and do what we got to do.
Hmm.
But being able to reflect and have a moment to just assess how that's going, it's important.
Yeah, like again, the conversation I had, it made me realize because I'm so deep into it. I mean, I couldn't tell you like how I got here. Well, I could tell you how I got here, but it's one of those things. Is like, yeah, it just naturally happened for me, but for others, it doesn't. In
Mm.
that conversation I had, I realized this is not something natural for this individual. I had to break it down as far as why I'm so focused in on that, not for my personal life, but like, what is it that's the ultimate goal? And the way that he wanted me to describe it to him, he wanted me to simplify it in like a couple of words. And the best way I was able to simplify it that at least resonated with him, and I hope this resonates with anybody else, but why is it that you're so focused on, your finances? Why do you invest? Why do you care? Why do you budget and stuff like that? Those are the kind of questions that, was kind of posed to me. And I immediately was like, I gave him a long-winded answer. And he was like, yeah, no, I'm sorry, bro. That didn't resonate to me. I don't know what you're still talking about. You still didn't
Mm.
like it still didn't make sense to me. And then these three words really stuck with him. And I hope it sticks with anybody else. But I then told him, I was like, I do all that to protect the future.
Mm.
That's the only reason why, because again, I don't know what's to come. Nobody else. I mean, if you're a fortune teller, please come knock at my door. I'll be more than happy to hear what you have to say, but I don't know what's gonna happen. And the only thing I can do is prepare myself, give myself that cushion. And that's why, I think just understanding it, maybe if you want to practice it, that's even better. You're gonna give yourself even more of a cushion, but at least understand it so you know what to do in order for you to operate and navigate the life that you want to live.
Gotcha. Not to drift the topic away, but don't you think that approach, it makes it, um when you're saying to protect your future, don't you feel as though it implies that you're fearful of the future?
No, I'm just managing my risk.
Gotcha.
I mean, yes, you can go ahead and be ballsy, like again, and do certain things, but again, me protecting the future. Every dollar I get, I know exactly where it's going, what it's going to do for me, how it's gonna grow. Like it's not just me, I'm not hoarding the money. I'll tell you that right now, absolutely not. There's a purpose for every single dollar. I use this. My brother likes this analogy that I say to him a lot. It's every dollar that you get, you better go put that mother lover to work. So every dollar you receive should be a soldier to you in terms of what you're trying to do. Don't just let your every single dollar that you get be stagnant, be dormant, just sitting at the door, just doing nothing. So yes, you could look at it as a way of me being fearful of what's to come, but it's more me allowing my money to go out there and work a little bit more for me. Because again, I can't work 24 hours in the day. There's no way. I personally cannot.
Yeah, I hear you.
I need something out there that's gonna work 24/7 for me. And if it may not be 24/7, at least it's 4 hours that I didn't do, or that it's 4 hours that I didn't have to do anything that I could have leveraged.
Right. But you did the planning. That's good.
Yeah.
I do want to ask the same question from a perspective, at least for those who are not in the US,
Mm,
and where money is not necessarily, um I feel like in America, we've gotten used to knowing that, at the end of the week or at the end of, 2 weeks or the month, I'm gonna have something coming. Now, like, how do you tell somebody who doesn't know when the money is gonna come to budget accordingly?
Yeah.
Do you get my question?
I do. I mean, I don't know. I can only speak from my mother's stories.
Mhm.
Because again, they grew up in Haiti. Maybe you could speak on this as well, because I don't know how, finances were for you back home, but they didn't have much, so it was, manage every day. That
Mhm.
that was really it. That's And again, I didn't really grow up in, harsh conditions. So
So how was the budgeting back then? Because you're still here, right? So something must have worked. So what was that secret sauce formula?
back when,
Like what? Like during the time that you spent with your mom, or like when your mom was going through her journey,
hmm
back home.
hmm that I could tell you, the secret sauce was really just give her time.
Mm.
That was one of the key things that she always said. If you want something, I'll get it for you. You just gotta give me a head. You gotta give me a notice, because I obviously she has other things going on. So she always said that whatever you need, you just let me know. But you gotta tell me in advance. You can't just tell me the week of or the day of and expect it to be at the doorstep. No, that's not the way it worked in my household. It was no. You gotta give me a heads up. So that was her secret sauce, and it worked. I mean, she was spot on every single time. You gave her a heads up, she knew what to do. She knew how to, budget. She knew how to figure something out, and it was there when it was needed. So that was her secret sauce. Now, I don't know how she managed to do it. Again, since there's women in this world are superheroes. That's all I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's true. I can relate to that 100%. Um, but to say that I know what it took, I'll probably have to have my mom on the call.
Yeah, I mean,
Um, yeah,
and I hear what you're saying in terms of those that are in different countries and like, yo, we don't got it like y'all. Like, how is it that we
yeah.
do it? I mean, I don't know. I will say this is my based off of what I see and based off of the stories that I hear of people in America. Manage day by day. What you can do that day is all that you can do. If you can control that day, control it to the best of your ability to help yourself for tomorrow. you know so
Mhm.
I don't want to go ahead and say like, yeah, go ahead and create an entire budget list or go ahead and do all this Excel stuff, and you really don't want to look at it, because again, there's not much coming in and there's not much going out. But you can definitely look at the next day and realize and understand what is it that you can do today to change tomorrow.
Right.
And that right there should be a good stepping stone. Now, I don't know how long that's going to take. Keep your head down and keep moving. Don't hold your head down. Keep it down and keep it moving, in order for you to continuously accomplish that goal, or just progressively make that progress.
That's true. I'm gonna steal a line that most of my mentor would tell me is just don't forget the power of faith and hope.
hmm
Um,
But you can have all the faith and you can have all the hope in the world, man. Like, you really can. But you have to still do something.
yes, action is required to be able to transcend into, whatever it is that you need to get into, right? Action, there will always be an element of action. But if you think about it, without hope, there's no there's no action that can be taken, really.
Yep.
It takes having a certain level of faith for you to confidently take action.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. So that's what I was saying. But two things I wanted to do is one, acknowledge those who are listening to us from outside the US. We appreciate the support. Um, I was looking through the stats the other day. You'll be amazed by the amount of people that are listening to us from other countries. Um, and I truly appreciate the fact that you're taking the time to even listen. We're still here. We're still gonna do the work. And if you have any advice or guidance,
Reviews.
review, feel free to send them up in any way that you feel as though will work for you. But we're here and we see you. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we can talk about money all we want. At the end of the day, you have to assess yourself and look at what's ahead for you and how you want to prepare yourself to get there.
Yep. Absolutely. Then after that, it's once you have that plan, you've done the assessment, pay yourself first. Man, that part right there, paying yourself first goes a long way. If you haven't read the book Richest Man of Babylon, that's a hidden gem. Please do. Now, this isn't my tactic, this isn't my strategy, but 10%. Pay yourself 10% of every dollar that you receive. I think a lot of people can do that. Now, if you can't do that, hey, drop it down to maybe 5, drop it down to 3. But the bare minimum, ideally, is 10%. And then from there, once you're done paying yourself, because again, you can't pay everybody else before you pay yourself. This is your hard work, your hard-earned money. So at least find a way to enjoy it, right? After that, if you need it, you may not need it. I think accountability partner is going to be extremely helpful in these conditions, in these circumstances. You know, we're probably about to hit rough times soon. This is a warning. I've been hearing it. I'm sure you've been hearing it. I'm sure the news is scaring everyone. I wouldn't be too worried. I would just say, just understand what's ahead and understand what you have to do. But if that means finding accountability partners to hold yourself accountable, then do that. If that means reaching out to us because you kind of want some more insights or you want us to hold you accountable, then do that.
I was thinking of a scenario, right? Let's say, for example, someone out there goes in budget or decide, oh, you know what, let me try this thing, you know, have a structure on how, where is going what. And they finish, you know, if it's an Excel sheet or any other way that you want to budget, and you realize that your budget is actually in a big hole, as in you're in the red before you can see green. What's your advice for somebody like that?
Yeah, we talked about that, man. It's gonna be my advice is gonna be the same. Either make more money or start subtracting the things that literally make more money or start subtracting the things that don't matter.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I think most people, if you haven't created a budget sheet, I think most people are already in the red, to be honest with you. I'm going to be 100% because I found myself in the red when I started creating this. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Oh, no. We got to fix it. Even my mother, right? I've helped her with her finances. It's the same thing. It's like, yo, what are you doing here? Come on now. You know, so I think if you don't have an understanding of what's going on, you're in the red already. You just don't realize it because everything still looks good on your bank account sheet.
So the motive really should be to structure the budget and the plan to not be in the red and actually have some cushion.
Yeah, I would hope that's everyone's plan. Based off of statistics and what's known is most people don't have 3 months of reserve. So
that's sad.
So I mean, I would definitely hope that at least somebody can have a cushion to lean on if worst case scenario were to happen. And that's what this episode is really here to do. It's to understand and allow us to kind of share some guidance and some tips and tools that we've used along our journey to help us create a cushion, for us to create some sort of something that we can lean on, but also at the same time understand like, yo, this is part of the journey. You know, yes, you may not care about money. That's perfectly fine, but I'm sorry to say, but we all need it. Now, if you don't need it and you're perfectly fine the way things are, then that's even better. One less thing you have to worry about. But you know, at that point, just get your mental right. And once you have your mental right, then nothing else can get to you.
Stick to the plan. Stick to the plan. Once you make a plan, stick to it. I know there is a lot of temptation to kind of override the plan and put some stuff away. Stick to the plan.
And like the OG Warren Buffett says, rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1.
And really, man, the focus is just leveling up. Cause I know the life I want, I'm just setting it up. Removing those that's close who try messing it up. Can't wait for champagne toast with the relevant bunch. Like, what's up? Yeah. Like, what you do, homie? What's your vision? How you thinking? How you move, homie? And is you cool, homie? You thinking building, then that's something we could do, homie.